Hallelujah. Thank you for joining me today. We're going to continue our 40-day devotional on the book Purpose Driven Life, written by Rick Warren. And today we are on day 28. Okay, so let's go ahead and get right into it. Okay, 28. It takes time. Everything on earth has its own time and its own season. Ecclesiastes 3:1. I'm sure that God who began the good work within you will keep right on helping you grow with his grace until his task within you is finally finished on that day when Jesus Christ returns. Philippians 1:6. There are no shortcuts in maturity. It takes years for us to grow to adulthood, and it takes a full season for fruit to mature and ripen. The same is true for the fruit of the Spirit. The development of Christ-like character cannot be rushed. Spiritual growth, like physical growth, takes time. When you try to ripen fruit quickly, it loses its flavor. In America, tomatoes are usually picked unripened so they won't bruise during shipping to the stores. When before they were sold, these green tomatoes are sprayed with CO2 gas to turn them red instantly. Gas tomatoes are edible, but they are no match to the flavor of a vine ripened tomato that is allowed to mature slowly. While we worry about how fast we grow, God is concerned about how strong we are. God views our lives from and for eternity. So he is never in a hurry. Okay. So why does it take so long for us to mature, and sometimes it takes us a while to grow? Although God couldn't instantly transform us, he has chosen to develop us slowly. Jesus is deliberate in developing his disciples. Just as God allowed the Israelites to take over the promised land little by little, so they wouldn't be overwhelmed, he prefers to work in incremental steps in our lives. Why does it take so long to change and grow up? There are several reasons. So we're going to talk about those reasons very briefly. The first reason is we are slow learners. We often have to relearn a lesson 40 or 50 times to really get it. The problems keep recurring, and we think, not again. I've already learned that. But God knows better. The history of Israel illustrates how quickly we forget the lessons God teaches us and how soon we revert to our old patterns of behavior. We need repeated exposure. Our next reason is we have a lot to unlearn. Many people go to a counselor with their personal or relational problem that took years to develop and say, I need you to fix me. I've got an hour. They naively expect a quick solution to a long-term standing, deep-rooted difficulty. Since most of our problems and all of our bad habits didn't develop overnight, it's really unrealistic to expect them to go away immediately. Our next reason is we are afraid to humbly face the truth about ourselves. I have already pointed out that the truth will set us free, but it often makes us miserable first. The fear of what we might discover if we honestly faced our defects character defects keeps us living in the prison of denial. Only as God is allowed to shine the light of his truth on our faults, failures, and hangups can we begin to work on them. This is why you cannot grow without a humble, teachable attitude. Our next reason is growth is often painful and scary. There's no growth without change. There is no change without fear or loss. And there is no loss without pain. Every change involves a loss of some kind. You must let go of old ways in order to experience the new. Our next one is habits take time to develop. Remember that your character is the sum total of your habits. You can't claim to be kind unless you are habitually kind. You show kindness without even thinking about it. You can't claim to have integrity unless it is your habit to always be honest. A husband who is faithful to his wife most of the time is not faithful at all. Your habits define your character. Let me read that again. A husband who is faithful to his wife most of the time is not faithful at all. Huh. Okay. Your habits define your character. There's only one way to develop the habits of Christ-like character. You must practice them, and that takes time. Okay. So, as we're coming to a close a little bit, I wanted to remind you to don't get in a hurry. Go through the process. Allow God to take you through the process. There's going to be some pain. There could be some hurt involved in it, but there might be some relationships you need to break away from. Even in your Christian walk, yes, you're going to develop some relationships that are Christian, and there's going to be a time where you might have to break away from those relationships. Yes, I said it. Sometimes there's going to be some Christian people you're going to have to just say, you know what? I'm going to move on. It might hurt a little bit, but I'm going to move on. So let's see. Believe God is working in your life even when you feel it. Okay? So just because you don't feel it or see those promises manifesting at that moment and in this season, in your season, doesn't mean that God is not working. God is working all the time. Okay? He doesn't sleep. He's working around the clock. Okay, keep a notebook of a journal of lessons learned. It's something I haven't done yet, and that's good. I'm going to have to apply this to my life. Keep a notebook or journal of lessons learned. This is not a diary of events, but a record of what you are learning. Write down the insights and life lessons God teaches you about Him, about yourself, about life, relationships, and everything else. Be patient with God and with yourself. One of life's frustrations is that God's timetable is rarely the same as ours. We are often in a hurry when God isn't. Okay, so one of my last points here is I wanted to tell you is don't get discouraged. When Habakkuk became depressed because he didn't think God was acting quickly enough, God had this to say. These things I plan won't happen right away. Slowly, steadily, surely, the time approaches when the vision will be fulfilled. If it seems slow, do not despair, for these things will surely come to pass. Just be patient. They will not be overdue a single day. Amen to that. You know, we serve an on-time God. He's always on time, and He always comes through. Remember how far you've come, not just how far you have to go. You are not where you want to be, but neither are you where you used to be. Years ago, let's just go ahead and skip that. We are going to close, and we're closing on 28th day. We're getting there. We've got about 12 more days to go. All right, so our point to ponder, there are no shortcuts in maturity. To maturity. There are no shortcuts to maturity. Our verse to remember is coming out of Philippians 1:6. God began doing a good work in you, and I am sure He will continue until it is finished when Jesus Christ comes again. Now, our question to consider for today is, in what area of your life, in what area of your spiritual growth do you need to be more patient and persistent? Alrighty. So that concludes day 28, and I will see you next time for drum roll. Let's say the drum roll for later, because we still have 12 more days to go. Day 29. See you for day 29 tomorrow.